All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jáchym. I was born here in New York, but my mother is Czech, and my father, as some of you know, is kind of like the LeBron James of Czech language and literature. So it felt only fitting that I should come and say my little piece. So first, I want to sort of shout out my Czech family, specifically the people who come before me. And who have, helped shape me in so many ways. So first, I have to shout out my mom. Oh, and also, it's going to be all baby pictures, so if you don't like anything else about this presentation, hopefully this is just like a little, I don't know, you can appreciate that. But so this is my mom. She grew up and studied medicine in Prague before moving to America with my dad. They eventually settled in New York, which is where I was born. Then this is my grandmother, Yara. She was one of the nicest people I ever knew, just always super kind, super uplifting. There's, again, proof of my Czechness with the foraged mushroom and blueberries. But as you can see, active in the summer and in the winter. And then this is my grandfather, Ctirat. He is a super huge role model for me. He taught me, one of his main sort of influences on me is he got me really into chemistry from a very young age, and I've sort of followed my STEM aspirations since then. He also taught me how to ski and drive, which are some of my favorite things to do, so I owe him for that. And this is my Uncle Philip, my mom's brother, who has devoted countless hours, days, and weeks to both me and my younger brother, spending time with us when we're in Prague, especially when we were younger, and less direction. We couldn't quite go to the pub back then, so he took time out of his life and took great care of us. And then lastly, here's my mom's sister, Helga. She studied veterinary medicine in Brno, but then emigrated to America and now lives outside of Chicago, practicing veterinary ophthalmology, has two beautiful daughters. All right, so I'll start my story in high school. I went to the Bronx High School of Science, which I thought was a fantastic academic institution, and I had quite a great time there, but I also wanted to highlight some of the sort of scandals involved with it. Bronx Science did not receive a ton of positive media attention since like the 80s when we got our last Nobel Prize laureate. But yeah, so it was a rough upbringing, but I also owe it a lot to my teachers from Bronx Science, motivating me and helping me. So I said I liked chemistry, but I sort of moved away from that in favor of biology. And while I was studying at Bronx Science, I spent 2 summers at the Institute of Rheumatology in Prague, at the Department of Experimental Rheumatology, where, I was still in high school, so I wasn't quite as savvy as I am now, if I am savvy now. But it was a great instructional experience. I learned a plethora of techniques in molecular biology. There's qPCR, which we all became very familiar with in 2020. There's some data I collected. It was inconclusive ultimately, but the main funny story I have with that is we needed blood samples, right? I was testing how letting blood sit out affects levels of circulating microRNA. And the theory is maybe if you let blood sit too long before you process it, all the red blood cells burst and it kind of messes up your data. So we needed blood. So I graciously got blood from my uncle, my lab instructor, my younger brother, and I regrettably had to donate blood myself. Now, this isn't a full pint, this was 40 milliliters, but I passed out nonetheless. It was a bad look, but I'm still standing. So after graduating high school, I showed you that I attend Columbia University, another fine academic institution, where I major in biology, and recently, beginning of this academic year, I started working on a concentration in environmental science, which I highlight here with this geophysical model of how slow spreading mid-ocean ridges cause this kind of concave faulting. And it really just amazes me because for so long I've been focused on such a tiny, minuscule world that studying these massive physical processes, mind-blowing. But then this is my lab, the Barnhart Lab, where I've been doing work in fruit flies. So we study the cellular biology of neurons, particularly mitochondrial dynamics, but other stuff as well. There's a couple people work on the endoplasmic reticulum. And so the main question is neurons are these giant sprawling cells that can be up to 1 meter long. They don't ever divide, so you need to take good care of them, and they're incredibly energetically demanding. So the mitochondria within these are crucial in keeping them healthy, and most neurodegenerative disorders are highly associated with dysfunction in mitochondria. So what I study specifically is the function of certain neurons in the olfactory or the smell processing center of flies. And I do this by testing their memory and learning, which seems counterintuitive because flies are stupid, and my data corroborates that. But there's still plenty of things to learn, and I am working on producing functional data. It's been going well these past couple of weeks. And then I take apart brains with these tiny little tweezers. Negative 1 second, but next year I want to move to Prague and work in a lab there, and then hopefully do ski patrol before going either to some graduate program or maybe med school. Haven't been able to quite seal the deal or decide on that one. Thank you.